Welcome into the Landon Tengwall Show, brought to you by the Student Bookstore, Downtown State College, where you should get all your Penn State merch needs. Penn State 28, Michigan State 10. Penn State retains the most lucrative trophy in all of America, the Land Grant Trophy. Yes, that heavy beast is getting brought back to State College. I'm so happy for Terry Smith and the guys. They needed this win. They deserved this win. They earned this win. It was a little bit of a snoozer, the third quarter and all that, but I was so happy to see him get the Gatorade bath like 3 times over. He must have been a little cold out there. The offensive lineman picking him up. The smile on Terry Smith's face, everything that this team has been through, it has been one tough season, that is for sure. So to see him get that moment was really, really awesome. And honestly, so often now we're in this NIL new world of college football, and a lot of fans don't like it. We got a taste of the pureness of college football last night that I think very few fans get to experience anymore, and we yearn for it nowadays because we don't get it. And so it was so cool to see that. You got Terry Smith out here representing Penn State at the highest level. I mean, this guy is a Penn Stater through and through. Mentioning Joe Paterno, making a lot of Penn Staters proud, and I think that was awesome. I have so much love and respect for Terry Smith. He was the man to right the ship in this situation. I know those first 3 games were rough, but to ask any interim head coach to come in and go at Iowa, at the number 1 team in America, and then at home against the number 2 team in America is not an easy job, and I think he has done it better than most anybody could. Now, before I say what I'm about to say, let me just be clear. Terry Smith deserves, to be on this staff next year in any capacity that he wants. He should never buy an alcoholic drink in State College ever again. But I am seeing a lot of fans seriously asking and saying Terry Smith needs to be named the head coach of Penn State football for 2026. I think many Penn State fans are letting their emotions cloud their best judgment when making that statement because, first off, I'm not even all the way certain that Terry would want that. We aren't in his brain, so we don't know. But I've said this before. Terry Smith was the cornerback coach here for 11 years. If you are a cornerback coach for just 11 years and you aren't trying to move up and be a DC or go be a head coach, I think it's clear you just want to coach ball. You just want to be with your guys in the position room and get to coach actual football. Because when you're a head coach, there are so many other things. You're the CEO of that program. You have to handle a million other things that aren't even related to on the field of just all these different issues. And, now you got to figure out GMs and managing the roster and all that stuff that if you're just a ball coach, you don't have to worry about. You get to wake up every day and go do what you love and just coach football. So that is a big chunk of why I'm holding the thought that I just don't think it would make sense to make Terry Smith the head coach. Like I said, we love him, all of that. It's great. But Penn State is about to face a massive rebuild. Whether you think it or not, they are. And many of these players and staff on this 2025 Penn State roster are going to either move on because they're graduating, they're going to transfer, or they're going to follow James Franklin to wherever he goes next. And so Terry would have to replace almost an entire staff. And he would have to probably 50 transfer portal players he would have to pick up and get. And this is someone that's never had head coaching experience outside of these 4 games. So I think that's hard. And people don't think about this. The fact that, the strength staff, the recruiting staff, the player personnel people, those guys they're all going with James Franklin. That's his staff. So not only does Terry have to get a new OC, he has to get a new quarterback coach, he has to get a new wide receiver, all of that, he has to get new player personnel guys, he has to get the recruiting staff. That's like 50 staff members that Terry has to go out and find. Strength staff, that's huge. Strength staff is going to go with James Franklin. That's how it works. So it's great. And like I said, you're letting your emotions cloud you. But these are the things when people are seriously saying that, it's like, come on, it's not realistic because just logistically, I don't think that would work. If you bring in someone like Drinkwitz, he's bringing 8 to 12 players with him. He's bringing his entire staff. He has his strength staff. He has his recruiting people that he trusts. He has all of that. Listen, we are forever indebted to Terry Smith. As I said, never buy in. He should never have to buy and spend his money on anything around State College ever again. But it's just not a move that Penn State can make. And I just don't think Pat Kraft himself could afford to make that move. And Terry Smith has already, he'll, I'm sure he said, I would love if their option, arises, sure, I'd love, but, he's kind of just saying that because he has to. Terry Smith has already said whoever's going to coach this team next year, he's said, in that type of terms when he's been talking in press conferences. So, like I said, we don't know exactly what he thinks, but I really don't think Terry wants to. I'm sure people are going to continue to bring this up, but as I just said, it just logistically would not work out to make Terry Smith head coach. Love Terry, though. Deserves everything in the world. One of the greatest men I have ever met. All right, before we talk about the game, let's talk about some logistics of next week against Nebraska. It was just announced, Penn State, Nebraska, out of nowhere, 7 p.m. kick on NBC. I don't think many were expecting that for a while. We never had night games in November in the Big Ten, and now we do. And I think it's very cool. I think a lot of the fans are getting behind it. I'm seeing fans suggest let's just do a whiteout. Let's show our full support. I love that. One small issue that I do see is Thanksgiving break is the following week. So as you know, students are going to start to go home this week, Thursday, Friday. Everybody starts to trickle out of here to go back to their homes, enjoy Thanksgiving with their family. And so with a 7 p.m. Saturday night kick, if Penn State had one loss and we were 8-1, 9-1, yeah, I would say it's not going to be a problem. Everybody wants to stay around for that. And as much as these students, you give them credit, they are showing up to the fullest extent. I don't know. Will they stick around, all of them, until Saturday night at 7 p.m.? Are they going to head home? I sure hope they do. Continue to support this team to the fullest extent. But I just think the student section could be a little bit light against Nebraska. So that's something to be on the lookout for. All right, let's talk Michigan State, Penn State real quick. This Penn State defense been playing lights out these past couple weeks. Even against Ohio State, I thought they played very well fundamentally. They stopped the run. Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith just had their way with the DBs because they are just that much better. But Jim Knowles has simplified this defense. And we've heard it from Zane Durant, multiple other guys. When they're talking to media, they don't outwardly, say it, but they're like, "Hey, we're playing at 100 miles per hour. We can play full speed. We're confident now." And it's because Jim Knowles kind of took a step back and said, "How can I make this easier for the players to be able to execute?" So he is sending blitzes out the wazoo right now. Jim Knowles is, and they're getting home. I showed you guys in the Michigan State film preview that offensive line for Michigan State was rough. And I think Jim Knowles saw the same thing because he relentlessly blitzed them. Michigan State passed the ball 27 times. Penn State registered 41 pressures and 7 sacks. So if you're wondering, yes, you can register multiple pressures on one play. But Michigan State's quarterback, poor Alessio back there, you saw him at the end of the game. I mean, it was like his left shoulder was hanging on by a thread. I mean, they were just beating that guy like a poor drum. And it was fun to watch. It was fun to see the defense having fun again, which I don't really think we've seen since halfway through the Oregon game, really. So that was really cool. And a big reason why they had those stats that they had as far as pass rush was denied Dennis Sutton, who also has had some struggles, but damn, did he come out with a statement. 13 pressures, 8 quarterback hurries, 3 quarterback hits, 2 sacks, 2 TFLs, and a blocked punt, his 3rd of the season. That guy is a special teams dude, and NFL GMs are going to like to see that. He gives it his all every single rep. So that was awesome to see. And anytime you can continue to blitz and be effective like that, it's going to be a rough day for the opposing offense. I want to keep Jim Knowles. I think people are starting to come around to this more and more. I think we're going to be just fine. If people remember, before Tony Rojas went down, and really the entire collapse of the season happened, people were like, "Hey, Jim Knowles' defense is playing great." It was after Tony went down and everybody started to suck. Just because the tight ends aren't having a good year, are we pointing at Ty Howell and saying Ty Howell sucks? No, because it's everybody had a down year. Offensive line, quarterback. I mean, look, any position you want to point to is not having a great year for Penn State outside of Katron Allen, really, and Zakee Wheatley overall. So I don't want to point at Jim Knowles and say, "Hey, get him out of here." And get him out of here with $6.4 million, by the way, is what you'd have to pay him. I think I want to keep Jim Knowles. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about Jim Knowles being the defensive coordinator in 2026. But I'm all in on keeping him. And speaking of keeping people for 2026, let's talk about a couple guys that have somewhat flown under the radar. Everybody always says Chaz Coleman and Kobe Howard are the guys we got to keep. A must keep on this 2026 roster. Darius Dixon, freshman cornerback, played a great game. He was clamping guys down, had a really nice pass breakup, was playing all over the field too. He was playing outside cornerback. He was playing slot cornerback. He was playing in the box. I mean, this is a physical cornerback that tackled really well. He had a really nice tackle on third down to force fourth down. He was getting brought on a couple blitzes to kind of really seal off the game. He came on that cornerback blitz and made Alessio fumble, and Alessio, as I said, hobbled off the field with his arm hanging like that. But it was great to see. It's great to see him fly in there. Anytime you have a cornerback that is, obviously, their first job is they have to be good in coverage, which Darius Dixon is. But when you have a physical cornerback that can tackle well, that's a guy I want on my roster. A cornerback that can play in the box. Are you kidding me? That is a must keep for this team for Penn State in 2026. Other guy that I think has flown under the radar that you have to keep, Xavier Gilliam, defensive tackle. Really good strike and shed. There's a couple times where he's taken his guard 2 yards into the backfield and forcing that running back to bounce it outside. So sometimes you don't notice those defensive tackles a lot of the time because they do the dirty work. It's basically the offensive line of the defense. But he is really popping off on tape. So those are the two guys I circled watching the defensive tape this morning that said, I need these guys on this roster in 2026. All right, let's talk Penn State offense. Kaytron Allen, have a day, good sir. 181 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and just hell of a way to finish that game off in true Penn State fashion, just running the football. After the game, he was asked, how's he going to celebrate the win? He said, I'm just going to go call my mom. Come on, guys. How can you not love that man right there? I absolutely love Kaytron Allen. Get this man the all-time rushing record, please. He deserves it. 139 yards is what he needs to pass Evan Royster as the all-time leading rusher in Penn State football history. I think he can get that done. That would be a huge plus to what has been overall a really, really crappy season. If we can get Kaytron Allen that record, I'll be happy. We are going to move him up the steps at Student Bookstore. So we have the all-time rushing record on the left, all-time tacklers on the right. So after, if he finds a way to get 139 yards against Nebraska, Sunday morning, after a late night on Saturday, meet me at the Student Bookstore because we're going to be moving him up and you could be the person to do it. So I am incredibly happy for him. Nick Singleton's starting to come on a little bit more. Nick Singleton's seeing the holes a lot better. Watching the tape, didn't have a big-time day stat-wise, but I'm starting to see him see it. He's starting to see the holes open before they open up, what Kaytron Allen is so good at. So happy for him starting to kind of chug along there. And we're going to cover this in the coming weeks, but there's a court case that's coming up that basically could possibly allow players to have 5 years of eligibility without a doubt. Like there's no red shirt, whatever. Right now you have 5 years to play for, official years. You have that red shirt. Basically, the lawsuit is saying, hey, these guys deserve 5 years to play 5 seasons. And so it's thought that might pass. That's coming mid-December. We're going to talk about that. That's coming up on a video soon. But I'm just putting that out there for guys like Nick Singleton, for guys like Zane Durant. I don't know. Could you get them to come back for one more year if this thing passes? But like I said, we will cover all of that very soon. But overall, big day for the offensive line. First half was a little rocky, but in the second half started to move folks. They were reestablishing the line of scrimmage down the field. I was happy for them to see them get going and just have that swagger back that we saw the offensive line have last year after the game. All 5 came into the media room together and said, hey, if you're going to interview one of us, you're going to interview all of us. I love to see that from the big boys. It's been a rough year, but to see them really just kind of assert their dominance in the trenches on Michigan State in the second half and will this team to victory, proud of them in the way that they are continuing to fight. One big mystery for me this year, couple. Luke Reynolds, it's been a rough one for him. His blocking has really suffered. He's dropping footballs that are hitting him in the hands. It might just be an off year, kind of like it is for everybody else, but I don't know. I don't know what has happened there. And then almost a bigger question mark for me is Khalil Dinkins and his blocking. Really bad day blocking for Khalil Dinkins. Really, since the first, he had some good blocking to start the year, and then since then, it has just went downhill. I mean, he was missing tons of block on play side blocks, as a puller, backside. I mean, all these different blocks. It has been rough to watch. So that sucks. Like I said, you can't blame it all on Ty Howell. I mean, everybody's kind of having a down year, but I've been puzzled by those two guys that I would have chosen those two to be the most surefire good players on the roster this year that were going to be able to maul guys up front. And that's really why Penn State's been able to run the ball so well for so many years, is not only a good offensive line, but you got great blocking tight ends to seal those edges. It's been a little bit rough there, but I do want to highlight Andrew Rappelier. Now, that's a tight end that's blocking his butt off, burying dudes in the dirt. I've been very impressed by his tape this year. He needs to continue to get more and more reps. And once again, that is a guy you need to make sure is on this team in 2026. All right, let's talk some Ethan Grunkmeyer real quick. Had some nice passes. Deep ball to Ross was beautiful, right where it needed to be. But definitely watching the tape, he missed some stuff. He missed a couple passes. And the biggest thing that stood out to me was his pocket presence. It was actually pretty good against Iowa, and then kind of went downhill against Ohio State and Indiana. And it was rough. It was rough. That fourth down where we turned the ball over, where a lot of people wanted Terry Smith to just kick that field goal. He had only 4 guys rush. Katron Allen picked up the blitzer, and he could have just stepped up, but he just rolled out to the right where he really didn't have any wide receivers in the area, and then he ended up getting sacked. So he's very liable to just kind of panic and just roll out. There's a couple times where like Nick Singleton picked up the blitz and he like literally ran into Nick Singleton and like bounced off of it. He's just not seeing it well. He's not navigating the pocket super well. So maybe that is part of the reason that the coaches were seeing that, and that's why they didn't want to do a ton of drop back passing, although you obviously need to. The offense has been so much better when you actually pass the football down the field. It is, it's a very novel idea when you actually throw it vertically. You can do other things. So I still think that's what opened up some of that Penn State rushing attack, still being able to pass the ball down the field. But I mean, I'd give him like a C in that game. I thought he had some good moments, but definitely had some bad moments and taking some sacks and things of that nature that he should not have taken. I'm curious, though. We got 2 games left. We're going to watch Ethan Grunkmeyer very closely. Let me know in the comments, do you want Ethan Grunkmeyer to be the quarterback of this Penn State team in 2026? Or are you looking for a new name? Are you looking for Eli Drunkowitz to bring in Bo Pribula or Matt Zollers or whoever comes in next? Brian Hartline to bring an Ohio State guy with him? Let me know. I'm interested to hear what you guys are thinking down below in the comments. But I appreciate you guys tuning into this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. Peace.